Okay. Basically, all that we did before was review, so now I'm doing some new material. Okay, let's do this problem, this compound inequality, in a very short, easy way, which will come up with the same answer. Remember, my answer being that I want to talk about the section or the interval on the number line that's between -7 and 2. Let me show you how to do this simply and quickly. So again, we have this compound inequality, and we want to, it's telling us that what we have is -8 less than 2x plus 6 and less than or equal to 10. In other words, this 2x plus 6, whatever it's equal to, is someplace between -8 and 10. We will always see when we have these double inequalities, the number on the left side is going to be the smaller number. The number on the right side has to be the larger number. And the inequalities always have to be less than signs, because we want this to be set up the way our number line is set up, where the smaller numbers are on the left and the larger numbers are on the right. So when I want to solve a compound inequality, what I'm aiming for is to get in the middle just a plain x. I always focus what's on the middle, and whatever I decide to do in the middle, I have to do in two places. I have to do it on either end, because I'm trying to solve an two inequalities in one shot. So I'm looking to get x alone in the middle. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of this 6. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. What does that mean? That means I have to put a -6 over here on the right, but I also have to do a -6 on the left side. I'm doing two examples at the same time. That's why it looks a little strange and I have 3 of these, but I'm really doing this problem at the same time I'm doing this problem, because the steps involved for both of them are the same. If you're using the transposition method, you have to put in, if you're doing -6 over here, you have to do it on both. You have to put a -6 on one side, on the left, and also on the right. Okay, now we bring down. -8 and -6 is -14. This left side stays the same. The 6 and 6 cancel out, so that just leaves me 2x. Here I have 10 and -6, so that gives me +4. I'm almost there. Remember, my aim is to just get x alone in the middle. So I see I have the 2x. In order to get x alone, I've got to divide by 2. But again, whatever I do in the middle, I have to do at either end. So I have to divide by 2 on the left, and I have to divide by 2 on the right. Again, I'm doing two problems at the same time. You're having trouble with what I'm doing, Wensley?
Yes, miss.
You have a question?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I saw you wrote something on the.
Oh, it was about like a group chat, like somebody want to create.
Oh, okay, okay. In other words, it wasn't meant for me. Thanks.
Nah, no problem.
Okay, so now I'm just finishing this up. The -14 divided by the 2 stays -7. I'm dividing by a positive number, so I'm leaving these inequalities the same way. They're less than inequality. 2x divided by 2 is x, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. so that I've solved, look at how easy this was. It really was just 2 steps. I solved 2 inequalities at the same time because these were really involved doing the exact same work on both of them. This is the solution. What does this say? It says -7 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 2. Sometimes it's easier to read it from the middle. This is really telling me that what I have is my x greater than -7, and at the same time being less than or equal to 2. Here's what it looks like on your number line. It's really quite easy to do. Here's your -7. Here's your +2. This is a less than, so that would be an open circle, not a closed circle. And the 2, it's less than or equal to, so that's a filled-in circle. And it's just everything that's in between. Notice how this x is written between the -7 and the 2 on the solution. That is telling me that the x for my solution has to be between -7 and 2. So my number line fits my inequality, and my interval fits there also. Here's my interval. The left side of the interval is -7. The right side of the interval is 2. Since this -7 had an open circle, it's a parentheses. Since the 2 had a filled-in circle, it's a bracket. Notice how it's just exactly this without the x in between them. It's much more succinct. And these symbols indicate whether it would be a less than or a less than or equal to.
We're creating a group chat, Professor, if you're wondering.
Okay, I see there's a group. Great. I see that you're trying to get together as a group to work together. I can't think of anything better to do. I think the best way to do well in this class is to work as a group. Those of my students, and I've had this many times, the classes where they get together and they work as groups, as a group do well. And those that are so individual that they don't care and they're not part of it, I have classes that are like that as well. As a group, they don't do as well. So the best help you can get is from your fellow students. Should I give you one to try like this?
Yes.
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 Okay. Here's one to try. Here's a problem to try. I'm sorry, I have to take this. Hello? Yeah, I'm in the middle of teaching a class, that's what I'm in there. Okay, then my husband had sent you something. Okay, I'll call you later, shortly. This number? Okay, okay. Can you text me the number? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, here's a problem for you to try. And I'd like you to put this in interval, solve it, put it on the graph, and also in interval notation. Okay, I'll give everybody a couple more minutes to try this. Okay, I see a couple of people have put in the answer. Looks right, so let's just do this together. Again, this is that double inequality, so we want to end up with the x alone in the middle. Always focus on the middle. We don't want this 8 here, so we're going to subtract 8, which means we're going to have to subtract 8 from either end. Not just one end, but from either end. This will give me -8, 6 and -8, which is -14, less than just the 2x. And this is 4 and -8, which is -2. -4, I'm sorry. 4 and -8 is -4. I then want to get x alone. Again, I'm always focusing on the middle. So I'm going to divide that by 2 to get the x alone, which means on either end, I'm dividing by 2, which will give me -7 less than x less than -2. Again, I have the x alone in the middle, the -7 on one end, the -2 on the other end. So on my number line, here's my 0. My -7 is, let's say, over here. My -2 is over here. These are both less than signs, so those are just less open circles. And of course, we connect in between. It's the number line, it's the section between -7 and -2, which means in interval notation, Your starting of your interval is on this -7, that's on the left. The end of the interval is -2. And since these were both open circles, these are both going to be parentheses. And as I said, I saw on the chat, several people did that. And that's how it would look on the number line, and that's how it would look in interval notation, which was easy to put on the chat. I saw, and that's what everybody did get that did send it in. Great. Okay, so we have, I just want to start one other section. We've done inequalities, we've done regular equations. I'd like to talk about something called absolute value equations. Okay, let's first just talk about what the word absolute value means. First of all, there's a symbol. The symbol looks like this. It's two straight lines on either side of a number. You might see something like, and we'd read this, absolute value of 5. You could see something like this. This is the absolute value of -8. So these two straight lines on either side of a number is a symbol called absolute value. And what it stands for is the value of the number without its sign. The absolute value is always a positive number. In other words, the absolute value of 5 is just 5. The absolute value of -8 is just 8. You just drop its sign. It's when you're interested in what is the number, you don't care what its sign is. If we look on the number line, we'll understand what we're talking about. When you have, here's the number 5 on the number line. What is that 5 telling you? It's telling you how far you are away from the origin. How many steps did you have to take to go from your origin, which is your starting point, to get to the 5? Well, obviously it's 5 steps. What if you're at the -8? See, here's your -8. How many steps does it take to go from the origin to -8? Well, it takes 8 steps. In this case, to get to the 5, you have to go to the right. Here, to get to the -8, you have to go to the left. But how far do you have to go? For this one, you only have to go 5 steps. For this one, you have to go 8 steps. So what is the absolute value telling you? It's telling you how far you have to go. What is the sign telling you? The sign is telling you what the direction. If you're not interested in what direction you have to go, you just want to know how far, that's when you're talking about the absolute value. But really, basically, what the absolute value is telling you to do is just drop its sign. Don't change its sign, you drop the sign. I'm teaching. Hello? I'm teaching. Okay. What we're going to look at is how do we solve an equation that has an absolute value sign in it. So let's look at this. I'm going to take a very simple equation. I'm going to take an equation that looks like this. the absolute value of x is equal to 3. How do I solve that the absolute value of x is equal to 3? What am I asking for here? I'm asking you, what number should my x be originally? What number should be inside this absolute value so that when I take its absolute value, the answer is going to be 3? Or if you're trying to do this graphically, where should I put my number on the number line in order for it to be 3 steps away from the origin? Because that's what the absolute value means. It's how far are you from the origin? Well, there are 2 ways I can go from the origin. I can go to the right and get to 3, or I can go 3 steps to the left and get to -3. Both -3 and +3 are 3 units away from the origin. In other words, there are 2 answers to this question. The x in this case could either be -3 or it could be +3. Both of these answers work. Whenever I have the absolute value of a number, hello? Hello? Hi, Bobby can't talk to you now because she's teaching the class. I'm gonna call you back in a few minutes. Okay? Sorry. People have to get used to my schedule again. Okay. So when we have an absolute value equation, it turns out that we're going to end up with 2 answers. One answer being the positive number and one answer being the negative number. Notice when I check it, if I put a -3 inside my absolute value, it'll come out to be 3. If I put a +3 inside my absolute value, it'll also come out to be 3. So anytime I have an absolute value equation with the x inside the absolute value sign, I've got to break it up into 2 possible situations. One where the number could be positive, one where the number could be negative. Now there's another thing you have to be careful about. What if I had given you something like this? The absolute value of x is equal to -5. If I think about it, that's impossible. The absolute value of a number always has to be positive because by definition, that's what the absolute value is. It never has a sign in front of it. It's a number without a sign. So this can never have a solution. There's no solution to any case where it says something where where your absolute value turns out to be a negative number. The absolute value always has to be positive. So in the simplest situation, if this is a positive number, then we just break our answer into 2 numbers, the positive number and the negative number. But if the absolute value is a negative number, I stop right there, cannot solve that inequality. Now, I just want to end the session by doing one absolute value equation so that this is where we'll start when we come to class on Thursday. Obviously, most of my equations are going to be a little bit more complex than this. Let me show you how to do a more complex absolute value equation. suppose I have something that looks like this. The absolute value of 2x minus 3 plus 5 equals 18. So I have this, obviously this is much more complex than what I did before. How do we go about solving an equation, a more complicated equation that has an absolute value sign in it? Okay, so the first step is you want to get the absolute value isolated. You don't want anything outside the absolute value. So the first thing I want to do is there's a 5 outside. I want this all by itself. So I'm going to isolate the absolute value by bringing the 5 to the other side. Which will leave me the absolute value of 2x minus 3 equaling 18 minus 5, which is positive 13. Okay, so that's step 9 is 1. Get your absolute value by itself. Once you have the absolute value by itself, we will make sure the number on the other side of the equal sign is positive, because the absolute value always has to be positive. Well, it is. So then break your equation up into 2 equations. Write 2x minus 3 equaling 13. In other words, just dropping the absolute value. And your second equation you get by doing 2x minus 3 equaling negative 13. So you get 2 equations by taking what's inside your absolute value and first making it equal to the positive number and then making it equal to the negative number. And you solve these 2 equations. Well, of course, here I'm just going to do plus 3 to both sides, which will give me 2x equals 16. And divide by 2, so x equals 8. That's only one of the answers. You have to get the other answer. Here you also add 3 to both sides. In this case, you get 2x equals negative 13 plus 3, which gives you negative 10. And divide by 2, and that gives you x equals negative 5. So your 2 answers, there are 2 answers. Your answers are, you can put them in braces like there are positive 8 and negative 5. Notice the answer could be a negative number. What you can't have as a negative number is what the absolute value is. The x could be negative, but not the absolute value. Okay, this is where we're going to continue on Thursday. We have class this Thursday. Make sure you're on time. We're going to start on time again. I'll probably put a problem on the board as a start. Again, I will be available from about 9:15 until 10. I will be already on Zoom. So if you want to ask me any questions or have any problems or have anything at all, you can either just meet me or you can always send me an email. Again, a couple of people had asked me how to get onto the code for the Delta Math. All of that information is on Blackboard. The information, if I send out emails from Blackboard, anything that you want me to do, I will probably post some problems on Blackboard for you to, on Delta Math for you to do. There might be some homework to do. Again, it won't be, if you notice, there's always 2 due dates. There's the closer due date for 100% of the mark. And if you miss the due date, you can always do the homework later on. You'll get 90% of the credit for doing it. There is the only mark for homework is, did you do it or not do it? Even if you got every single question wrong, it's considered having done your homework. Okay. All right, and I see you're setting up a WhatsApp group. Great. Okay. Everybody have a great day.
Professor, I have a question before you go.
And what?
I have a question for you, Professor. Did you get a chance to go over the first set of homework on Delta Math?
Do you need me to, I just checked to see if it was done, and you get them.
Okay. So my question to you was, I wasn't sure if I did all of the problems in each section. So can you give me some feedback via email whether or not I did that correctly?
Okay, here, do me a favor.
Sure.
Send me an email,
Yes.
and then once I check the email, then I can respond to you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much, Professor. You have a great day.
Okay, everybody else, have a great day. I'm going to end this session for now, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Likewise.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.